Before comfort, one of the most important rooms in your home did not exist. If you woke up before modern toilets, your day began with a smell no modern body is prepared for. Smoke from cooking fires, damp wood, animals close to people, waste waiting somewhere nearby. And beneath it all, the quiet fear that the water you drank might already be carrying sickness. Because life before toilets was not only uncomfortable, it could be deadly. You did not walk down a hallway. You did not close a clean door. You did not flush anything away. At night, many people used a chamber pot, kept under the bed, near the wall, or in the darkest corner of the room. By morning, someone had to decide where the contents would go. Sometimes into a yard, sometimes into a pit, sometimes into a shared privy, and sometimes much too close to the street. In a crowded town, you are never far from another person's waste. The real mystery is not why the past smelled so bad. It is how people survived that smell every day. Before modern sewers, many urban homes depended on cesspits, holes dug into the ground to collect human waste. A toilet could be nothing more than a wooden seat over a dark space that slowly filled beneath you. The boards could rot. The pit could leak. The smell could move through walls, yards, and rooms. In cramped houses, waste was not something far away. It could be almost part of the building. And when several households shared the same privy or pit, one question could turn ugly. Who would pay to clean it? That work often fell to men who came after dark, when everyone else wanted the streets to be quiet. They were known by different names: nightmen, rakers, and later, in England, gong farmers. They opened pits, shoveled waste into buckets, filled barrels, and dragged the city's filth away by night. Some could earn decent money, but money did not make people stand closer to them. The work was not just disgusting. It was dangerous. In 1325, Richard the Raker died after rotten boards gave way and he fell into a privy pit. In a world without safe sanitation, survival depended on people willing to enter what everyone else tried to avoid. But the past was not always primitive in the simple way we imagine. Ancient Rome had public latrines, sewers, aqueducts, drains, and bathhouses on a scale that still impresses historians. But Roman comfort did not mean modern privacy. In public latrines, people could sit close together, side by side, in a space that would horrify most people today. Instead of toilet paper, Romans are often associated with a sponge on a stick, a tool later writers and archaeologists still debate in detail. Water helped carry waste away. But water did not always carry danger away. Roman engineering could move filth. It could not erase parasites, contamination, or the limits of ancient medical knowledge. Even with latrines and baths, evidence from Roman sites shows intestinal parasites remained a serious problem. That is the first lesson of this story. A city can look advanced and still be unsafe inside the body. In medieval castles, toilets could look stronger, colder, and more impressive, but not always safer. A garderobe was often a small chamber built into a stone wall. Waste dropped through a shaft, sometimes down the outside of the castle wall, or into a pit below. For the person inside the chamber, it might feel like a solution. For the servants below, it was another problem. Some garderobes were placed near clothing areas, and tradition has linked them with protecting fabrics from insects. Whether that protection was real or exaggerated, the idea tells us something important. In the past, people often lived with smells and risks that modern life has taught us to hide. Beauty in one room, or on the next. That was not contradiction. That was daily life. In winter, the problem became worse. Cold slowed cleaning. Rain spread dirt. Mud carried everything from one place to another. Children walked near drains and pits without understanding what could be moving through the ground. Markets were full of bread, animals, shouting, smoke, mud, and contamination. You bought food with hands that touched coins, doors, buckets, tools, animals, and dirt. There was no invisible line between clean and unclean. And this is where the horror becomes more serious. The toilet was never truly separate from the water. A well could stand too close to a cesspit. A leak could move silently through soil. Nobody had to see the danger for it to enter the body. One cup, one meal, one invisible infection. That could be enough. Before germ theory, People tried to explain sickness with the tools they had. They feared bad air. They feared divine punishment. They feared curses, corruption, and invisible forces. The theory of miasma, dangerous air, was wrong in its cause, but understandable in its fear. Because if a place smelled unbearable, waste was probably near. And waste meant flies, dirty water, spoiled food, parasites, and disease. The rich had more protection, but not immunity. A wealthy household might have private chambers, servants to empty pots, and more distance from the worst smells. But if you were poor, privacy was a luxury your body rarely received. You shared walls. You shared yards. You shared water. You shared risk. In crowded towns, the street could become a drain, a dump, and a warning sign. A shout from an upper window could be the only notice before something unpleasant came down. The old joke about chamber pots thrown from windows is often exaggerated, but grew from a very real urban problem. When streets were narrow, houses crowded, and waste poorly managed, danger could come from above, below, or beside you. Rain did not simply clean the city. It moved the city. It carried dirt into ditches, rivers, courtyards, wells, and doorways. The more cities grew, the less space remained for waste to disappear safely. A hidden pit did not stop being dangerous. It only waited, and when it filled, the nightmen returned. They carried waste beyond city walls, to dumps, gardens, or fields where it could be used as fertilizer. The same substance that disgusted people could help grow food, but if handled badly, it could also carry sickness back toward the table. Body, pit, field, food, body again. That cycle was one of the oldest and most dangerous loops in human history. Centuries later, the problem had not disappeared. It had grown with the cities. In Victorian London, many people still lived with privies, cesspools, poor drainage, and overcrowded yards. For the poor, one toilet could serve many people, and landlords did not always rush to make things safer. Comfort was never only about soft beds or warm rooms. Comfort was distance from danger. And by 1858, London's danger could no longer be ignored. That summer, the River Thames smelled so badly that the crisis became known as the Great Stink. The smell reached the center of government, and suddenly sanitation became a matter of political survival. Joseph Bazalgette's sewer system helped create a new boundary between city life and human waste. The underground city of brick tunnels became one of the greatest comforts modern people almost never think about. But before that boundary existed, your morning began in the corner of a room. You opened the window, and the street was already awake with smoke, mud, animals, and risk. Before you ate, before you worked, before you prayed, you stepped into a world without separation. No separation between home and waste, between water and sickness, between comfort and fear. People were not stupid. They cleaned when they could. They adapted when they had to. They used water, cloth, ash, herbs, custom, warning, and routine. But they lived inside systems that could not protect them from what they could not see. Roman latrines, castle garderobes, medieval cesspits, Victorian privies, different ages, different materials, the same human problem. Today, comfort is quiet. It hides behind a door, a pipe, and a clean surface. You press a button, turn a handle, and danger disappears beneath your feet. But for most of history, almost nothing truly disappeared. It waited outside the door. It waited in the pit, in the well, in the river, in the food. And sometimes it waited inside the body of the person sitting beside you. The past was not only less comfortable, it was less forgiving. And before toilets, one of the greatest threats to life was not far away. It was under you, around you, and sometimes already inside you.